The Blackadder is a recurring character in history. We wrote a sitcom in which, over 4 series, you see him in 4 different eras of British history. The essence of the Blackadder, it's about hierarchy. There's, either it's the royal court or it's the army, which has a very, definable, levels of status. Effectively, in every subsequent series, I play, the ancestor, the descendant of the person in the previous series. In the first series, he's a prince.
Precisely.
In the second series, he's a lord.
That Farrow bloke you executed today, you sure he's dead?
Well, chopped his head off, that usually does the trick.
Third series, he's a butler.
Lead on, Macduff. I shall.
And in the 4th series, he's a captain in the British Army in the First World War.
You must be pretty impressed having Squadron Commander the Lord Flashheart drop in on your squalid bit of line.
Actually, no. I was more impressed by the contents of my handkerchief the last time I blew my nose.
In the first series, he was a bit more of an idiot. In the second, third, and 4th series, he's a cleverer man, sort of stuck in the middle of a hierarchy. He'd love to move up, but he finds it very, very difficult to do so, and he certainly doesn't want to move down towards his sidekick, Baldric.
Yes, and your definition of dog is?
Not a cat.
Excellent.
And he's always the middle guy. He's the sort of middle management guy who resents those above him and he resents those below him. But he had a wonderful sort of weary cynicism about the world. And that, I think, is what made him surprisingly identifiable and also made him funny. The big change between the first series and the second series was we went from a very extravagant, location-based, semi-film-like texture to something, well, we just had to make something much more effective and much more funny and much more cheaply. So we ended up with a sort of 3-set sitcom. So there are only 3 sets and the action just moves between the 3 sets. And then the third series, we were in the Regency period with George III on the throne and the Prince Regent in charge, is that right? Sorry, history was never my strong point. Richard Curtis and Ben Elton, who really made the Blackadder what it was. It was just whatever they thought was going to work best. Whenever I've been invited to do one of his films, I think I've always said yes. So if I'm not in one of his films, then he hasn't invited me, which he's perfectly entitled not to do. Well, like Love Actually, is a case in point, which was when he asked me to do the small part of the salesman in the shop.
Could we be quite quick, please?
Prontissimo.
It was just a sweet, funny little part. It took one all-night shoot in Selfridges on Oxford Street, and it was a very nice thing to have done.